Hey guys, I have another really fun one for you this week. I had Logan Pierce and KEIRA CROFT. They are two sex workers, or as us civilians may call it, porn stars. And it is a super educational episode. It is not at all what you thought this conversation was going to be. Well, it's a little bit what you think the conversation might be. It's an NSFW episode, but I don't have a regular job, so NSFW doesn't really apply to me. But you've been warned. Also, I wanted to jump on here and tell you guys that there's actually a giveaway with this episode. Logan Pierce was kind enough to give us 4 signed copies of his book. We talk about the book on this episode. And all you have to do to be entered to win one of his books is share this episode on social media. So tag us on Twitter with a review, share this in your story, and add us at ConfidentlyPod. Leave us a comment or a rate, and you can just screenshot that and send it to us. And after a week, we will pick 4 winners, and you will get a copy. So enjoy this episode. Logan Pierce and KEIRA CROFT. Okay, you guys, this is a really exciting episode because we don't have just one guest or 2 guests. Motherfuckers, we got 3 guests on the podcast today. Let me introduce them. First, someone you guys probably know very well, especially if you're an adult shit listener. My lovely boyfriend, Jared, a.k.a. KAPSLAP, a.k.a. the DJ, is finally graced us with his presence. Say hi to the people, babe.
Hi, everybody.
Fun fact about Jared, he is the most friendly guy ever, but the second you put a microphone or a camera on him, he gets super fucking weird.
Super awkward.
Yeah, like he doesn't know how to act in front of the camera.
Hi, guys.
Next, I would love to introduce you guys to our guest for today. We have the lovely Logan Pierce and KEIRA CROFT. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited about this episode. I do want to say, though, I want to get some really ignorant ass questions out of the way starting this
All right,
episode.
I can probably already guess what they are.
Great, because I just want to do it and then get into the good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Let's go for it.
you guys are porn stars, sex workers, adult performers. What is the proper usage to use?
Okay.
I
What do you
guess.
think? What do you like to be referred to as?
I guess I like the term sex worker.
Love it.
It kind of embodies a lot of different aspects of being in sex work. Like, are you an escort? Are you a cam girl? Are you a porn star?
It's all
Sex
different.
Yeah,
worker,
it's like a
you do
blanket term.
everything. It's a
Yeah.
blanket term. So to me, that's how I like it.
Cool, cool.
Yeah, same thing with me too. Or I mean, I am only a performer, so I don't fit all the other boxes. But performer is usually what I refer to as myself. I don't call myself a porn star. That's
Right.
for everyone else to use.
Oh, interesting. I
Yeah.
never thought about that.
Yeah,
way.
I also don't like to call myself a porn star. I
Yeah.
prefer performer, if anything.
I mean, nobody in the
Sex worker,
business.
performer.
Yeah, no one in the business.
No one calls each other porn stars. It's always just performer or talent.
Oh, okay.
You
So
know.
it's, it is a business, and we'll get into that. But I just wanted to get it out of the way up top because here at Confidently Insecure, we're asking the questions that other people might be afraid to ask. So I want to get all the ignorant
right.
shit out of the way. More ignorant shit for you.
Okay.
What is the most common thing people ask you when they find out that you're a performer?
Do your parents know?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Do
It's
they?
huge,
How
it's
do,
huge.
how do your parents feel about it?
It all goes back to that.
It always goes back to your parents, no matter what the subject is.
What are you gonna tell your kids one day? Yeah. Or like, what's the nastiest shit you've ever done?
Okay, well, that's definitely on there.
Yeah, it's always like,
Ooh,
at a
yeah.
party, it's like, oh wait, shh, there's a porn star. What's like the most gross
What's the-
shit
yeah.
you've done?
And
What's
do
the
you
weirdest thing you
answer
ever
it,
done?
or do you go what's the worst fucking thing you've ever
Yeah.
done? Brad, who works in finance,
Exactly.
probably
Yeah.
worse shit than me.
Yeah, you want to turn it around. You want
Yeah.
to all right, well, hey, you want to know me? Let's find out about you.
Okay,
You open up a
yeah.
little bit.
That's good. That's good. PR training too. I feel like I've interviewed people where you ask a question and they know how to kind of steer around
Yeah.
it, and that just comes
Yeah, you have
with
to navigate.
after getting asked it so many times.
Exactly.
Can you pop a boner at any time you want, Logan?
Anytime I want? No. Are you nuts?
I've also
I mean, it honestly happens at inopportune times where like, oh, I'm on a plane or something. And I'm just like, God, I'm just
boners,
rock
man.
hard right now.
Those are real, though.
Uh-huh.
That
Yeah.
happens to you.
Is it
Sorry.
an air
It just
thing?
happens.
What is it? Sleeping?
Yeah. You know, I have a theory about sleep deprivation boners. Like when I'm
Yeah.
really tired and I'm awake and I'm like active, but I just want to sleep, I just get hard.
Yeah.
I can't do anything about it.
I feel like you're not alone in that.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Don't
I
think so.
I'm on board
clearly,
with
yeah,
that.
at least
It's
two of us exist.
So funny. I told Jared I wasn't gonna out anything about him, like having all this sex talk today, but I feel like I'm accidentally going to. So apologies in advance, love.
Oh, hey, you know.
And do you
I'm
guys
here.
talk about the fact that you're a couple, or no? Should we not say that?
No, yeah,
You can
can.
say it. Okay.
Yeah.
The reason
No,
why.
no. We're trying to keep
Are
it
you trying to
quiet,
hide
you know.
something?
Well, look, I definitely have kept relationships secret before.
Uh.
I don't want the internet to find out because then, in a weird way, someone thinks you're less desirable, and I don't know why I gave a shit for so long.
Well, it's like weird because as a female performer, when your fans know that you're with somebody, they get kind of weird, like, oh, I've lost the chance.
Like you ever had it.
being with you.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's like it's really weird. Like you have to tiptoe around it almost.
That's weird. That's
Yeah.
funny.
And you get fans that like think they know you. You know, and they'll comment on things and they'll be like, oh, I noticed that so-and-so didn't write about you this day. Like, is everything all right?
Jesus.
Or like, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, get the fuck out of here.
Like, right,
Like,
privately.
you don't know shit.
Damn.
Yeah, what you see on the internet, that's not real life, you know?
Right.
I'm
The
posting once a
stalking.
month.
I mean, that's very
Like-
true with YouTube in general,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the
Oh,
internet
man.
in general.
People get
The
obsessive.
stalking is like
like, for
crazy.
real, for
Yes,
real?
for real.
How do you deal with? I mean, that's a pretty intense question. I didn't mean to like jump
No,
right
it's
into that
okay.
shit,
I'm sorry. I
but
brought
no,
it up.
don't apologize. There's no apologies allowed on this podcast.
It's like, I mean, in terms of being a female performer, I have people who think, you know, they try to be your friend to get things out of you, and somehow they'll find your real name and then they'll start using it. And then it, like, for instance, there's someone I keep getting emails from every day with my real name in it, begging me to pay attention to them, or they're gonna hurt themselves, or they're gonna
the
do something
worst.
crazy, and they work in this industry, like
Oh, wow.
they're a
Damn.
critic.
Really?
They're a critic,
Oh,
and it's like it
jeez.
makes me think like you shouldn't be so like. I don't know. It's just it's so
That's
it's
wild.
scary,
Well, that
and other
puts a lot of
people
pressure
see
on
it.
you,
Other
too.
people see it, and they're kind of like,
Yikes.
"What's
Yeah.
going on here?"
Now,
And I'm
as
like,
a-
I don't know them like this.
in this industry, do you feel like you have resources when something like that happens?
Not really.
Like, there's no hotline to call.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can talk to other performers who might understand it, but there's no one, like, there's no HR.
Right.
Like,
No,
that's
you
Exactly.
can't file a
problem.
No,
complaint.
the number one
Totally.
solution is like, oh, just block them on social
Right,
media.
just
Yeah.
block 'em or
Ignore them.
something.
But
Yeah.
you know, that doesn't solve anything.
Honestly, I've definitely dealt with instances with fans that get, you know, a little too personal because you do put your most intimate private parts of your life, like no pun
Yeah.
intended, for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like I talk very openly about my struggles, and people think that they know you when they come up on the
Yeah.
street. It's not like an actor where they're like, oh, you play a character every time I see you. For them, with
Right.
people like, I assume you guys and people like YouTubers, they think that that's who you are. And like
Yeah.
people will come up to me and just like hug me without asking. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm cool, you know. I can't say no to people. It's really hard for me to do that, but I feel like you have to have boundaries when it comes to
Absolutely.
like, especially sex work. You have to be able to be someone who's vocal about your
Right.
yeses and nos.
Especially with sex work too. It's like they expect you to want people to touch you, and it's like I don't want to be touched all the
Yeah,
time
right,
like
yeah.
that from a stranger. Like,
Always on.
Yeah, we're always on or whatever.
Back to the ignorant questions.
Yes. Keep asking them.
Logan, does your dad high five you?
Does he high five me?
Like, was your
No,
dad
no, he
like,
doesn't.
fuck yeah, son?
No, I
Yeah,
think he was
bro.
a little disappointed to find out.
Really?
Yeah, of course. I mean, at first, I
Right.
feel like all parents are initially just kind of turned off to the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer you do it and the more you're like open about it, you know, then it's just a job. But we don't
Yeah.
talk about it, but they're fully aware of what I do.
Right.
And everything, but
Do you feel like that's
we
shifting?
don't go into detail.
Like, is our generation gonna be a little bit cooler about it?
I don't know. I hope so. I hope it gets better. You know, the whole point of stuff like this and the book and just I guess social media as a whole is to like let's just open up and be
Maybe
communicative
the
and transparent.
Generations will be a lot cooler. Maybe
I feel like that's just what happens with
Well,
most.
everybody's got
say.
access to that all the time. Whereas
Yeah.
like back then, with
They
our
didn't.
parents' age, you have to like get like magazines and hide it under a bed.
Sure.
Yeah.
These kids
Well-
now can just look it up on
their
their phones
phones.
whenever they want.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hardcore porn.
But still, everyone pretends like they don't watch it.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Well, I want to bring up your book you mentioned is Between the Sheets, Rise of a Working Stiff, which is a great title.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
also,
great.
it's an incredible book. Like when I got it, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I was expecting, but it's beautiful and it's really well written. I mean, I got it yesterday and I'm already like halfway through and
Cool.
I realized that I needed to stop because I was learning so much that I was like, I don't want to come into this interview like a fucking expert, but it's so well
yeah,
written
yeah.
that like I learned
It's like a porn for dummies book. It's
Yeah.
like just a
Totally.
quit porn 101.
like all my questions I had answered in the first like 10 chapters and I was like, oh fuck, I should stop reading all this.
Oh,
But
that's great.
You wrote a book now. How much is autobiographical and how much did you have to change?
You know, I want to say like 85% of it is autobiographical. Like everything in there happened, but just for the sake of storytelling, I had to condense things and events that in the book happen over the course of a night really happened over like a year.
Right,
You know,
okay,
and just for the sake
totally.
of storytelling, just to
It's the same.
condense it. And of course, no one in that book is, I mean, a couple of people you'd recognize
names
their
are
names,
great.
but everyone else is changed and
Yeah.
and you know, they're composites of multiple
Yeah.
people. It's not like, oh, this is a one-to-one with that person.
Yeah.
So
Well, I feel like it's also a really good representation of like LA lifestyle because there are places that you talk about in there that like I know really well. Like for instance, the Oakwoods apartment.
oh yeah.
I went to school across the street from there
Okay,
on the
okay.
back lot at NBC. So like you talking about the apartment and like the bedroom setup, I'm like, I have had sex with so many dudes in the Oakwoods apartment. Like I was able to transport myself, and so I feel like it's really entertaining for anyone to read, but especially if you know anything about like LA, it's even more interesting.
That's very cool of you to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss the Oakwoods sometimes. You know, I was a kid
Do
when I was
you?
there. Well, I was a kid and I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, I'm like
Fair,
20 years
fair.
old. And
The Oakwoods, I
don't
should
know,
say,
it was
is just like the place to move when you go to LA. Like it's affordable. It's right on the corner of the highway, so it's accessible to Hollywood and like the cheaper areas of town. But it's also like right down the street from Vivid, right?
well, you know, I don't know if you've noticed, but Vivid is no longer there.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah.
See, I don't know the
That's
inner
fair.
workings.
The
of-
sign
The
came down a
sign's
couple
gone.
weeks ago. I was driving on the highway and I was like, "What the fuck? It used to be
Maybe
there."
they moved.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Not fair.
No, I don't think they've been faring too well.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
Vivid? What's
Vivid
that?
at one point in time was like the
Okay.
biggest porn studio.
Oh, okay.
And they had their offices right on Ventura.
Got it.
You know,
Right by the highway.
everyone could see it, but I'm saying they're gone now.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
I mean, I think they're still around, but just
Yeah.
that office is not the Vivid office anymore.
So when you wanted to write a book, I mean, when did this come out? Was this fairly new?
2017, the
Okay.
end of 2017.
So how long had you been working when you wanted to write? Like when you pitched the idea of writing a book, where people are like, "No, you're a sex worker. You can't also write really well." 'cause
No,
it
know
is."
your place, young man.
Yeah, like stay in your lane.
No, I've always been journaling. You know, that was really just. I mean, I've been writing since when I was in high school, and then college. I went for filmmaking, so I was always writing constantly. And then when I got into porn, I just started journaling about my day to day because I realized
Hello.
like, well, not a lot of people know
Yeah.
about this. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting line of work, and just for my own reference, I'd like to have a record of it. But I kept doing that over the course of a few years, and eventually I compiled enough to where if I actually worked hard enough at it, I could create a narrative from it. So I just decided to do it.
Yeah, like
know,
you're a
I
great
just-
writer.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And so when you were pitching it as like, because I gotta say, it's really sexy. Like there's some language in there where I'm like in the back of the Uber, like, oh, okay, hey, let me close this page for a second.
Get
Like,
a little rosy cheek.
yeah. So like, how would you describe the tone of it, and like how when you were shopping it around, was it an easy sell, or were people like, this is a very niche read, or?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that easy because a lot of people wanted me to alter it to fit certain genres. Like they thought there needs to be more sex, marketed as erotica, or there should be some sort of like thriller element, you know, like he's being stalked and the stalker wants to, kidnaps him or something. I thought, well, no, I don't want to do that.
Hilarious, guys.
I just want it to be like a slice of life,
Right.
like really humanized, grounded. Sure, there's some weird things where you're like, oh, wait, did this ever fucking happen? But the truth is, those stories are usually 100% accurate. Exactly. Yeah. The
And
stories
you can
that
tell.
seem the most
Yeah.
bizarre are the ones that really
Well,
happened as they're written.
That's what I was going to say. Let me get back to some more bizarre questions. But everyone, you really should read the book if you have like any inkling of an interest in how porn works or how it gets started or how like someone kind of I wouldn't even say you like fell into this industry. You like you actively, or at least your character in the book, like actively chose to.
Yeah, no, and I did too, but it was like, it's more passive than anything. You know, I would send emails and I would follow up with everyone, but I always had it in the back of my mind. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to LA, I'm going to be a porn star, I'm the fucking man. It was like, you know what, I'm interning, I'm going to be there. God, I have a little extra money. You know, if it works, it works. If not, well, hey, at least I tried. And somehow it wored. And school ended, work picked up, and I've kept doing it since. So. Yeah,
because I think there's like sort of a stigma of like sort of this sad tale. I'm from Florida, where it's the strip club capital of the world, and I have seen like the sad stories where women like don't have a choice, and it's kind of like the only thing that's accessible to them, and like I've seen those kind of stories, and I think porn gets kind of looped into that just by proxy of like what it is.
Sure.
But it's not like a sad tale of like drug fueled like rock and roll and sex, and it's like you do a really good job of putting it as like a business and like a work.
Thank you.
I know. I mean, as far as I'm in, maybe it hits a
who
little.
knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. No. But yeah, I think a lot of us, like especially our generation of performers, you know, we really enjoy the work, and we didn't just do it as a last resort. Like we wanted to do it. We studied it. We know of performers in the past, and we wanted to give it a shot.
Wow.
Yeah,
and
totally
it's
craft.
fucking fun.
Yeah,
when it's going well, it's like unlike anything.
Do a lot of people come up to you and say like, I could probably be a sex worker, like I could be a porn star, and you're just like, aw.
No, that's cute.
You probably did it a lot more.
In terms of like, I have both girls and guys come to me and ask like, how do you get into porn? And it's like, you tell them exactly how it is. Like, oh, can you keep your dick up for like 3 hours at a time, like up and down, and like pop when you're told, like come when you're told? Can you do these positions for
jargon.
like?
Yeah, no, we're learning. You're teaching the people.
There's just totally, there's so much jargon that you learn. Like, like there's certain things. Do you like when someone's camera is right next to your dick? Like, do you all these other things? Like for a guy, there's a lot that goes into it. For a girl, it's like, you have to be comfortable in front of a camera. You have to be able to open up your body and show it, like not be like timid and you learn like I remember my first scene kind of being a little awkward, but progressively getting better and knowing my angles and positions and stuff like that. It's like a dance.
It's a performance.
You said you like studied before, like you studied the.
Well, studied in terms of like actively consuming porn,
Okay.
and knowing like who's relevant,
Got it,
what
got it.
sells, what what
So,
the
like,
popular topics are.
I
wish there were a class.
Do you guys like see like a porn? Like, do you watch porn together and be like, "Oh, this is really cool. Should we practice this like position?" Or is it more just in your head? Like, maybe I'll try that one day.
under
we
questions.
project it in our living
I'm
room.
super
We sit back with glasses of wine. And
Now, how
we
long have
critique.
you guys been together?
We've been dating since December.
Oh,
so
cute,
next
so
month
new.
will be 6 months.
Oh, congrats! You guys are still in the honeymoon stage.
Yeah, but we've been dating since October, pretty much.
Yeah,
great.
that's like our story. We were fucking way before we were together. Like we were like, And now, did you guys meet through work?
It's funny because like I had seen him on set one time before, and I was like, oh, he's so cute. Like I've been wanting to meet him. And I see him on Twitter.
Blushing, Logan.
Seeing him on Twitter, and then literally he was like asking like, oh, does anyone want to go see a movie tonight with me? And then I DM'd him. I'm like, yeah.
You slid into the DMs?
She slid right into my DMs.
I slid into his DMs.
It's funny because I was also a production manager for Evil Angel, and I was trying to book him for a scene, like
Nice.
with me. for like a while and going back and forth. And then there was this one time he asked, does anyone want to go to the movies? And I was like, yeah, I do. And the rest was history.
Now, you talked about your first time being a little awkward. And Logan, you talked about your first time in the book. Is that similar, true to life, like with your
Oh, that's
true
exactly
experience?
what happened. Yeah.
Okay, because I think it's fascinating in the book. You came twice the first time you did a scene.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
That's rare. Like, I feel like, is that when you knew that you were like, something special?
No, I mean, I'm sure the producer saw that like, okay. There's probably something to work with there. But no, for me, it was like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. Oh, God, I got to get it together, man. Come on. Just do it. And it worked. And I was like, oh, thank God. Otherwise, had I not followed through, who knows what
If you ever would have worked again.
Yeah, it was because of that where he called my agent and was like, hey, he did pretty good. He kind of fucked up a little bit, but then he rebounded. So, like, perhaps he's a good talent.
Okay,
so
KEIRA,
he gave me the cosign.
Yeah, how was it? How was yours different? Like, how was your first time different? Because I definitely have to assume that this kind of work is different for men and women.
Well,
gender
I
being
mean,
a scale.
so for my first scene, I kind of did things a little differently. Most girls go in and maybe they'll do like their first girl scene or their first boy-girl scene. Mine happened to be a boy-girl scene that had anal and squirting.
Wow!
So I kind of was
Just going
like,
in.
Straight out of the gate.
I'm gonna go all
Hell
out.
yeah!
So, because like my whole life, ever since I first masturbated, I was a squirter. So I was like,
Hell,
okay, I'm
your
gonna.
first time?
Yep.
Damn.
I
Wow.
thought I was dying.
Oh, no
I was
way!
like, no, what's happening? Yeah.
That's amazing because we
wild.
actually did a whole episode about squirting and
And
like just demystifying it.
It's funny because like for years I trained myself to stop because I was doing it so much, and then I was like, oh, porn, perfect. They love this stuff. So
They love this
they
kind
love
of
this
stuff.
stuff.
love it.
So I was like, yeah, I can definitely do squirting for my first scene, and I guess I'll just do anal.
Wow. So is that something you were practicing in your personal life too?
Yeah, I had been like stretching and preparing for months, and because I was like, yeah, I kind of want to be a hardcore performer.
Got it.
And so yeah, my scene was a little like crazy
Your first time.
because there was just so much going on, and
You went like straight to the NFL. You didn't like train.
Yeah,
You didn't do like
Yeah.
Pee Wee flag football.
and,
Like
and for a top company, like it was for Evil Angel, so
That's
I
a
was
big
like, that's a
one.
high standard.
Yeah.
So, and I had been for months before that scene, I had been working on set with another director, producing scenes in movies. So basically, I made that movie. Like I did all the other like scenes. Like I set them up. I had the plots,
hell yeah.
the dialogue,
Women
and
in
everything.
film
Wow.
represent.
Yeah, but so I was like, I'm gonna put myself in this movie, and this is gonna be my like introduction.
Damn.
Yeah,
And look what
and-
happens when you
Anal
give women
debut.
the power. Yeah.
Ooh.
Anal
Right.
debut.
No, she's in another tier than I am. She's
Wow.
like a true hardcore performer.
Well, that was one of my first questions that I forgot to ask because I was just so intrigued by this conversation is how do you guys classify yourselves as performers? Are you like veterans? Are you like hot shit right now? Like where on the spectrum do you fall or is it ever changing?
You go first.
No, I'm on my way out. No, I say I'm a veteran because I've been in for I guess long enough to be considered
What's
that.
considered long enough?
8 years.
Oh wow, that
8
is a long
years,
time.
wow.
Yeah. Having said that, though, there's still a lot that I haven't done, and there's still some companies, like top-tier companies, who I don't shoot for because my whole career has been like the soft, romantic, vanilla stuff, and that's pretty much like what started my career. And now that I'm getting older, I'm like, I just want to be hardcore. I want to do like the filthy stuff. Like that's what I got in the business for.
To do.
So I guess I'm still working on trying to like get out of this niche
And do you
do
find
more of
it
the stuff
hard
that I
to
enjoy.
do? Like, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, right? He's a chameleon. You could put him in anything, but then you get someone like, Reese Witherspoon. She's playing the same character over and over again.
Well, it's not so much just me exactly, but it's just porn as a whole. What's hot right now and what's been hot forever is faux-cest. So every day I'm either a stepbrother or a stepson, and now that I'm getting older, sometimes I'm the stepfather.
Oh.
And it's like, it's laughable
maturing.
BS that you just
Yeah.
have to just fake your way through to get to the sex.
Right.
But I feel like at least 9 out of 10 scenes, it's some step prefix, and it's like, what the fuck?
You know, that's like the number one searched porn term on Pornhub is like step whatever.
Not surprising.
So I'm saying it's everywhere. Everyone is shooting it.
I never got into whatever. Not here for my personal preferences. KEIRA, how about you? How would you classify yourself?
It's funny because it's like the opposite of him. Like I went in, I had my role models in mind, and I thought I want to be hardcore. I want to like just from the get-go doing anal and doing like just going crazy because that's how I liked it. Like it was fun, and I thought like, oh, all the soft, boring bullshit like that's like lame. I don't want to do that, but. Everyone was like, when I got an agent, he's like, you need to show people you have a soft side. And then I was like, okay, I can do that. I can tone down. And I have done. I tone it down, but sometimes I find it's, like, hard for me to be, like, it's not hard for me, like, to be, like, passionate and, like, more intimate. But, like, a part of me still wants to go a little more hardcore.
Yeah.
But,
and how many years have you been?
And that's the thing. I guess I would consider myself a newcomer still.
No pun intended. Sorry. Sorry, guys. I'm still trash. I'm still trash.
A brand new starlet.
Yes.
Well, yeah, because I've been in over now a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, when you tell people that, they're like, oh, you're a baby. And it's like, yeah. But I was also behind the scenes before I started. So you were like... And I was probably maybe like 4 or 5 months behind the scenes before I actually started.
Right. So you had experience, which arguably probably was beneficial for you.
It absolutely
was. You made your own movie for your first movie.
Yeah. I was making movies and writing scenes, and I knew exactly what, like, to look for. Like so now, like, behind... Like, when I'm in front of the camera, I'm super aware of everything. Like where the camera is and where I should be, how I should be looking, like that kind of stuff. But had I just gone in front of it, I probably would have been a mess.
No, you got all the technical shit down.
Yeah, and that's what you have to learn too. Is like when you're new on both sides, you know, a lot of the guys, they think it's about our pleasure.
Oh,
it's like, no one really wants to see it. We're shot from the waist down, you know, so we're not front and center.
My therapist is a sex therapist, so she works a lot with like sex workers or you know, what does she call it? She calls our relationship something. We're in an open relationship, but we're like committed to each other. Non-traditional relationships is like her
emotionally monogamous.
Yeah. So like that's what she specializes in, and I told her I was doing this interview, and she was actually like, "Yeah, you should ask the male performer about the like pay inequality, and if that is something that is still an issue where that men are sort of seen as like, we don't care about your face, we don't care about your brand, like again, like you're just the dick or whatever. Whereas like women, I feel like get." Like, I know more female performers' names than men, right? Course, yeah. And, like, that's just, why is it that way?
Well, at least for the public, they see the male performers as just props. But in the industry, you know, a strong male performer is you're on, what's the term?
I'm better.
Trying to think of this one phrase, but you're yeah, more or less. Like every director and producer has a set of guys, you know, half a dozen guys that they always use. So you want to be, I don't know why I can't think of this term, like that roster of sorts.
Yeah, the roster.
You know,
Rolodex.
So Rolodex. Yeah,
we're gonna come up with so many vocab terms.
We'll say the roster.
Yeah.
So you have to prove yourself to be on that roster to get hired time and time again. So as a male performer, you might work twice as much as your average female performer.
Right.
But then you're paid half.
Right.
So at the end of the month, it kind of balances out as you're making the same, and technically you have more longevity in your career.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because being that the women are front and center, oftentimes
we get like run through.
Right.
You'll be shot out, and then they'll
like
say
acting,
like, oh yeah, we've seen
like
them too many times. We want new people. But since the guys are for the most part anonymous,
right?
You know, they're just interchangeable. You can just
So
keep using the same guy.
do you think that's because the majority, or at least like statistically what we can see, the majority of watchers are males? Like, is porn still, do we think, catered heavily to men? I mean, I'm going to answer that yes, right? Like, I think it's changing, but is there a shift happening, or?
So I feel like kind of there's certain companies now that are making it more. We have a lot of new female directors who are trying to make porn that are more woman-centered.
Erica Lust, shout out. She's European. She's
But then you have a lot of women who are still producing the hardcore movies
Right.
to show that, you know, just because it's porn for women, it doesn't have to be soft
Soft
and
and
virginal.
flowery.
Yeah, it can
Like,
still be super hardcore. And
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's just showing that.
No,
there's-
that's amazing. Like it
it's
is
even keeled.
It's still
Yeah.
very heteronormative and very like straight. I'm sure
Right.
that's
And-
like
Yeah.
you know you got to find.
Yeah, there is some change that I've been seeing where they're incorporating trans performers more in with the straight performers, trying to make it more normalized.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
awesome.
really awesome.
Yeah.
But,
There's still a lot of stigma.
there's still a whole
Absolutely.
lot.
Yeah.
You know, like the straight side of porn and the gay side, they barely intersect.
Yeah.
Now,
And
when you
it's-
say that, do you mean like the actual productions don't intersect? Because I heard that a lot of, you know, I'm making air quotes, gay performers are actually straight men because it pays more.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I
many of
heard
them.
that as well. I think it's probably. I mean, I'm assuming it's.
I mean,
a rumor,
it pays more, but I
There,
don't think you're getting a lot more.
More, yeah.
There are, you know, certain performers, like I've done a couple of bi scenes, like where I had two guys who were like butt fucking
Right.
each other and then having sex with
That's
me.
like
and I'm
my
like,
dream.
okay, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I like those kinds
Yeah.
of scenes. I like when they're
More inclusive.
more inclusive. Like, and yeah, there are people who are like strictly, I don't work with crossover performers.
Wow,
The
yeah.
term
Yeah, that's a big
crossover
issue.
are people who will do both straight and gay porn, and
Interesting.
they're like, oh no, you can't do that. It's one or the other.
I
But-
have to imagine
Yeah,
that it'll
let's say that,
change
one or
with
the other.
time, right? Like as society progresses more towards like.
I mean, you would hope so,
You would
but
hope so.
I-
And,
yeah.
and we all take the same tests.
Right.
Yeah.
If someone's not clean, then they
Well, that's one of my
heal.
questions.
They heal and then they come back.
Yeah,
You're
it's
on the
like-
injured list for a while.
If you have an STD, are you out? Like, is it like basketball where you're out for the season, or like how? Let's talk safety. Let's
Yeah,
go there.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
ask like,
Okay.
how does
It's a
it
good
work?
question.
How do you know that it's regulated? I hear that it's like every week or every other week you're getting tested.
We're
like,
tested every 14 days.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of needles, or is it hard every time?
They don't bother
Well,
me. You know,
they
I
don't
watch
bother
it go into
me.
my
But
arm.
I don't. He
Oh.
does that, and I
yeah.
can't stand it. I don't like to watch, but I'm used to it at this
Yeah.
point.
And wasn't there like a condom law happening in California with
Yeah.
sex work, and people
I
stopped
think
following
it's,
it, or
I think it's dead now, but I was on the forefront of that when it was first brought to attention.
wow.
I was one of the plaintiffs for it.
holy
but-
shit? Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, it's not a great story because
Oh, 'cause
I
it
was on it
didn't.
and I was like, oh, I'm fighting the good fight. You know, when I was young, it was my first year in the business, and I thought, yeah, you know, porn, no one's ever getting sick. And then I got sick a lot. So I removed myself from it because I thought, well,
And you were on the side of pro condom or no condom?
No condom.
Exactly,
Which
because
was
that was the
the
thing with
industry
the
side, yeah.
performance.
Right.
Was like,
Yeah.
so it's like the WGA, like the Writers Guild. It's like
Yeah.
you band together. Like I stand with the other performers.
And I wanted to stay on it, but because I was getting sick, I was like, well, I feel like a
Maybe-
phony. You know,
Yeah.
I can't say that. Like the testing is great and it works. It catches
Yes.
things, but we're still susceptible.
Right.
You know, it's we're
Everyone
still playing
in the
roulette.
world is susceptible.
So
Yeah.
this
no matter
might be
what.
an ignorant question, so please ignore it if it is. But like, if you do get something that's not curable, like a herpes or something that is not as deadly as HIV or AIDS or HPV, but if you get something that is
Non-treatable.
non-treatable, are you out, or is that like a kind of shush thing in the industry, or like?
Well, I guess I'll say everyone in porn has herpes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone, even who isn't in porn, has
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
I
Is
would think, yeah.
most
It's
of the
like-
world.
I mean, it's treatable, but it's not curable.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
Like-
sorry. what
No,
do you-
no, I was
I was
gonna
gonna
say-
say, if you have an outbreak, you just treat it. You're on the injured list again.
Okay.
Until it goes away and becomes dormant, and then you're able to work again. But if
Got it.
anything's present, then no, you're out.
It's like
Yeah.
if someone has a cold sore,
Right.
and
Yeah.
that's technically herpes, but
Right.
you have it on your mouth. Instead, if you had it on your genitals, you would
right.
treat it, and then it goes away, but it's like an outbreak. It comes up, and then
Yeah.
it goes
Yeah.
away.
Takes
I
time.
would
I think
love-
it would
Take
literally
that.
be impossible for that not to be the case.
Well,
Like, it's
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
takes like
Yeah.
that's insane. That,
I've
like,
been wanting to do an episode where we bring like a herpes specialist, if you will, to talk
Yeah,
about it, just
it'd be
because
good.
like it's so stigmatized still,
Yeah.
and it's I know so many, I've dated people with it. I know so many people that have it, and it is one of those things where it's like, no one wants to talk about it because why? Like, I think it's just going to take time where it's one of those things where people realize that everyone has it, and it's a lot more common than you think. I shouldn't say everyone has it, but
it's very common. Yeah.
But getting it for the first time is
scary.
Probably the most terrifying thing, because you think like you're untouchable now, like you're garbage, like you want to crawl out of your skin, but it's like
it's like getting the allergies.
Exactly.
Like it's an occupational hazard.
There you go. Yeah.
And I remember reading somewhere that one of the pharmaceutical companies that produces the anti-herpes medicines and whatnot essentially just made this a stigmatized thing so that they could
profit
essentially.
Fucking
It's in the same
pharma.
way that like same like De Beers with the diamonds. They made this whole push, be like, oh, diamonds are really valuable, and everybody did it. Like they made a thing like, oh no, this is bad. And before that, people were like, oh, I mean,
because there's only like one like Valtrex is the only medication that I know I've ever heard of that is like
there's
medication.
a few more.
Yeah.
That's a good.
But they all do the same thing.
But exactly.
You have to look that up, because I read that a long time ago. So hopefully I'm not.
Well, no, that's
misquoting
And there's home remedies you can try.
Oh yeah.
It's all a waiting game.
But it's all just
You just have to be patient.
Interesting. I want to go back to an ignorant question just to get this shit out of the way.
Ping pong.
Have you guys ever masturbated to yourselves? Okay, wait. I should preface this with. I should preface this with like, this is now a personal question, and I think that's ignorant of me to assume you guys would talk about your personal sex lives. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, I'll talk about this question.
I've masturbated to myself
What?
in a porn before. Absolutely.
What do you mean?
Like I've filmed myself and I've masturbated.
You
watching
have?
myself. Yeah, absolutely.
Which one?
That's a little personal, but
Yeah, so sorry if that's a very like personal question, because you can also told me to fuck off.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
You can pass if you want.
Yeah, pass.
Would you like to pass?
No, of course not. Yeah, of course. I don't masturbate. I jack off.
yeah,
okay.
that is nice.
Because what I shoot, at least I hope that I'm shooting something that I would want to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So for research.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. It's like watching the tape. It's going back and watching the tape and studying.
And
like,
I want to critique.
I could have done better here.
Exactly. I could have opened up more there, or God, my arm is in the way.
Yeah.
But basically, like, I want to make scenes that I would watch privately. So
you're filmmakers.
And I'm a music producer, and whenever I make music, I listen to these details, and when I hear music, like now, it's almost like a blessing and a curse, but like I listen to how it's made, I listen to all these things, so it's intricate. So it's like I enjoy it now in a different sense.
Sure.
Is that kind of like how porn is for you guys now, where you can't just turn it off and just like how it was
are you
before,
like, oh, that camera angle sucks?
Do you always have that in your head? Like
yeah, and if I know the performers, I generally can't watch it.
Oh, really?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Unless I'm in it, but if it's like friends of mine, I'm like, I don't really care.
What about I'm sorry, I'm just ripping.
No, go for it.
What about like amateur porn, for example? Like sometimes
that's my favorite.
Sometimes you
is
just
that
take your.
Is that offensive to say
Oh,
to you?
wow.
Because you guys are that's like not your work.
A lot of performers, that's what they watch. Like
Right.
I would say it's pretty common that performers. We don't watch people we know
or the produced stuff.
Or if you know like the A to Z of how it was produced, you're turned off by it, and people like amateur stuff.
It's too technical.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't like amateur stuff personally. I want it to be well lit. I don't want it to be handheld. I want it to be.
Yeah, guys, watch more of their porn. That's not a plug for amateur porn. Go watch their stuff. Pay the premium. Get them paid.
Get our OnlyFans.
Yeah, there you go. That was the other thing I was going to ask, because I'd never heard of that before. Can you tell us what that is?
Okay. Sure, I'll talk about it. OnlyFans, it's funny because it seems to be like a private YouTube in a way. You find someone's account, but you have to pay for it and subscribe.
It's like Patreon.
Patreon.
Gotcha.
But it's like videos and pictures, and they advertise it on the website of like, oh, watch me do these makeup tutorials that you have to pay for. But then it's like, no, it's mostly people jerking off or having sex or nudes or whatever. There are some performers in our business that make like thousands and thousands of dollars a month doing it, because it's like people like to see this secret stuff that you won't post out there or whatever, or
It's
they
exclusive.
Now, is it like sometimes just someone like making breakfast, or is it usually always sexual?
It's usually always
At least in our business, but
In our
I've seen
business.
other professions use it.
right.
It's like a paid Snapchat or something.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
okay.
saying like
It's the same
that.
thing.
I've heard about the
Yeah,
paid
or-
Do you
Snapchats
guys
and
have them?
whatnot.
I have a paid Snap. Well, we
I don't
both
have
have
Do you want to plug them?
OnlyFans.
No.
Oh, come on.
It's easy to find. OnlyFans / Who is Logan.
Okay, got it.
Nice.
And then OnlyFans.com/KEIRA CROFT.
Got it. Thank you.
Piece of cake.
Thank you.
But yeah, I mean, I have a Snapchat. A lot of girls are now doing these premium Snapchats.
And like, how much of your creative energy does that take up, or like, is it having like an extra job where now you're posting
kinda
content
is,
twice
like,
a day?
social media is like a whole other job
Totally.
on top of doing the job we already have, because we have to promote ourselves
Mm-hmm.
or post these behind the scene things, or like things that people will pay for an extra to see.
Right, because there's so much free porn out there.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's so our big thing in porn is we want you to pay for porn.
Yeah. Fuck amateur stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, because people steal our content, and it takes money out of directors' pockets, and then they're gonna pay us even less, and it's like
That's a good point. Like, what are there's no copyright laws or whatnot. Are there copyright laws? And like, for example, like when you make those like porn music videos about certain things and you watch this whole compilation.
Like a compilation. No, compilations are stolen content.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
unless they're produced by the studios. Studios
Right.
will
Got
have
it.
their own compilations, but all the studios have copyrights, and there's always like this big argument in the business of like, fucking tube site stole my movie, and then they have to file for copyright infringement,
Yeah.
and
Got it.
sometimes they'll get it taken down, sometimes they won't.
I was going to ask because you bring up a good point, like compilation videos, for example. I wonder if this is going a little meta, but like because our attention spans as people are dwindling, and because content is coming at us so fast, like is it harder for people to sit and watch like a well-developed scene the same way it might be hard for people to like sit and watch a full like hour HBO show versus like something that's quick, like and wild and wacky, like a YouTube clip?
Like,
Was that too meta?
no, it's just I'm thinking, like, I've always had this theory that people watch, there's two types of people who watch porn.
Oh, let's hear it.
There's the ones that just put it on because they're really horny and they just gotta jerk off, so they'll skip to whatever part that they think looks good, and they're like, okay, that's good, and then they'll go.
You're laughing.
Yeah, me too.
And then the
Guilty.
other people are the ones that actually will like enjoy it for its production value, or they'll be the real fans that go out and buy the DVDs, and
Go
that's
see
a
the
dying.
merch.
It's
Yeah,
a
the
dying
diehards.
breed. It's a dying breed, but yeah.
Now, is it like, are you guys worried that in 10 years, like, there's gonna be less work because shit is just more accessible on these tube sites?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
so many people are partnering with the tube sites. You
Oh,
know?
wow.
Yeah, like people have premium channels on the tube sites, and a lot of companies that I shoot for have now been acquired by those tube sites.
And is that a good thing for the industry, or is that like... Also, sorry if this is so much
I don't know.
industry
No,
or
I don't think
business
good or
talk.
bad. I'd say it's probably more bad because then everything's like monopolized.
You gotta
Yeah,
like shift
it's
with the
just like-
times though, right? Or else...
Right, because if you look at porn back in the early 2000s, like 90s to like 2000 and maybe 8 or whatever, before tube sites got really big, girls were making thousands of dollars more than what we are now. Guys were probably making a little bit more.
They were shooting 3 scenes a day.
Right.
Yeah, but they
Holy
were
shit.
shooting like crazy, and it was just, porn was totally different. There was a whole lot of money in it. DVDs were huge. People, that was putting a lot of money in people's pockets.
Yeah.
And fans, like, you know, they go, because I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit.
No, this is great.
But, I feel like social media kind of killed the porn star.
Absolutely.
Because we're accessible now, and when we weren't, it was like, oh, like it was like a mystery, like a star, like a celebrity.
Yeah.
But now you can
It's so
talk to them on
accessible.
Twitter, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I'm talking to my favorite porn star. It kind of diminishes, like, oh, well, I can just take their content for free or whatever. I don't have to go to an exhibition to go and get signed copies
Yeah,
and
'cause, like,
like a fan.
Right.
That's something that I was wondering about. Like, I know with the music industry, it sounds so similar that you're talking about, where it used to be like record labels and these people did the tours and that was it. And like now it's becoming like open. There's SoundCloud, there's Spotify. You're not making jack compared to what you were making on record sales.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
with music producers and DJs now, they make all their money via live shows. And by
Didn't
you
you
know,
say something like 90?
it's 60% of all of the income in live artists is made by 1% of the people.
So like
So-
Ariana Grande.
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Taylor
Like all these
Swift,
people.
like-
because they have to jack up the prices since they're not making enough on the
Right.
actual sales. So it's but I was thinking like, is there an equivalency in porn that it's moving to where it's like you guys get booked for a gig somewhere or like a live performance? I don't
Yeah,
know if
what's
that's
like
a
the
thing or
Super
not,
Bowl
but
of porn?
That's a good one.
Where's like the
Super
top
Bowl of
you
porn.
can be? Like,
AVN is the biggest adult.
how much does that
show.
matter to you guys? The AVN, what does that stand for?
Nothing.
American
Adult
Video Network.
video.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like the Oscars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
The
but
Oscars of porn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the awards, they won't get you work.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Doing a good job
It's
and,
just
and being
showing
affable
face.
gets you the callback. The award is just for bragging rights.
Huh.
You know,
I
it's,
mean,
it's for the public to see,
Yeah.
like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
an award-winning performer.
Yeah.
But
Like
Right.
for you
Doesn't
guys,
shit.
is what's considered success to you then? Loaded question.
yeah, loaded.
Like, you know, is it to like have the house and the
gigs.
family and the like sustainability or like a company? Like, where do you see? Yeah, I don't know. hate
yeah, I
asking,
mean,
where do you see
all
yourself doing-
all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know if I'll
feel
ever
like-
be doing like granny porn. When I'm older. You know, it's certain like Logan was saying. You know, we have kind of a time clock
Yeah.
on our bodies for this kind of job. And especially like women, there's two age groups for women
Yeah.
in porn. You're either a teen or a MILF.
Yeah.
So at one point you're going to stop looking like a teen and then you're going to be a MILF and then you're just going to do MILF porn from then
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And yeah, guys have a little more longevity. There's some really old guys in our industry and they're still
killing
still
it.
Yeah.
killing it,
Yeah,
rocking
yeah.
it.
That's
But for women, it's different. It's very select, and yeah, I don't know at what point, you know, like like I said, I like to be behind the camera too, so that's something I kind of aspire to do as well. Is eventually when I'm like slowing down and performing, I would.
There's like a plan
Pick back
B.
up
I mean, I think that's like
in
with what we do
production.
too. Like
Yeah.
you being a DJ and me being like an on-camera personality. Like you have to figure out what else you're good at. Like
Yeah.
I
Right.
need to have other hobbies that I love to do because this isn't gonna last forever.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't perform forever.
Yeah.
I got a question about as far as
sorry.
like for Logan,
Sorry, took that.
essentially, like you were saying that like you know doing like research in the industry, you've been wanting to go into this for a while, or you've like been thinking about this. Are there like certain like people that you've been like looked up to since you were 13?
Who's
being,
your
like,
idols?
Damn, and
Porn
then like
idols.
you were able to like meet them or do a scene with them, and like how was that? If it was a thing.
Yeah.
It's like don't meet your heroes.
Sure, yeah. There's a
Yeah.
lot of that. There's a lot of
Yeah.
don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I won't say any names,
Sure,
but
sure.
there are men in the business who I looked up to, who turned out to be fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
You know, and you're like,
No
wow,
new
that
friends.
Sucks.
No new
Yeah.
friends.
But I mean, the female performers that I used to watch, unfortunately, they all retired. before I got into the business.
yeah.
Damn.
So I was like, I missed my opportunity.
Damn.
But
That would have been so cool.
yeah.
I turned up to when I was 13.
exactly, yeah,
Sick.
stuff like that. And you're like, oh, where are they now?
Wow.
Missed them.
And it's kind of like, at least with me, I had girls that I looked up to before porn, and you know, some of them are still around. I won't say names,
Sure,
but
sure.
they weren't very nice to me, and it was kind of a bummer. And I was like, oh, I looked up to you, and now you're putting me down for really stupid stuff.
Well, it seems like there's definitely probably some politics in porn
Yes,
where it's
there
like
are.
in any industry where you're gonna have someone you look up to and they turn out to be an asshole, or
Right.
like that a woman might treat you badly because she's intimidated by you or something. It
Or,
seems like
yeah, whatever.
you guys deal with the same kind of shit a regular 9-to-5er
Yeah,
might
I
do
mean, there's
it.
a lot of competition in it, you know,
Yeah.
because it is such a small industry, and now that the work is drying up, there's only so many jobs to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the people who are doing well, they want to hold on to their place
Yeah.
at the table. They don't
Right.
want to let go. They don't want someone to come in and
Take
you
their
know,
shine.
Exactly. So
It
Yeah.
sounds like a cutthroat biz.
Yeah,
But it seems pretty fun. Like,
bit.
when I was reading your book, I was just like, man, you have that line in there that's like, I get to like fuck for a living. So is there ever any days where like you have to put it into perspective, like I still get to do something people only dream about? Like, are there a lot of pinch me moments?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. I think about it a lot where I think about myself when I was a kid and you know, on the outside, you're like, God, I would give anything to live that life. But the reality is, like, I don't know if you would, you know? Like KEIRA was saying about what it takes for a guy or a woman to do it. You have to have, like, a sense of humor about yourself. You have to have thick skin. And you have to be okay with being criticized.
Yeah.
And now with social media and the internet, everyone's going to talk shit about
Yep.
you, regardless.
Everyone's a critic.
Regardless of how great you are. And you
Right.
have to not take that to heart.
I want to ask about the more technical side of things then, because like we are dealing with bodies and we are talking about sex and bodies,
There's
and
a lot that goes into
yeah,
how we prepare
because like
ourselves.
you are, your body is your work, and for females, I want to ask like, or you know, I should say people who identify as female that have a vagina, like, what kind of upkeep, or like, you know, how do you prepare? How do you stay sane? Because like I sometimes can't like use a towel without getting a yeast infection. Like,
You know, it's funny that you say that because, like, before I went into porn, yes, I was a slut. I would have sex with a lot of people, and I would have issues that were happening to me that I didn't understand and I didn't know how to take care of. And then when I got into porn taught me so much about my body that I was like, I didn't even know it could do that. Or I didn't even know that was the way I could, like, fix that solution.
it's like free sex ed.
Yeah. In terms of an average boy-girl scene, a girl will usually, there are some guys who request that girls do not douche before the scene because they like it natural.
Got it.
But douching, we use water, we'll just clean out.
Yeah.
And we'll do it after the scene sometimes. Like for me, since I do anal, I have to clean my butt and my vagina.
Right.
And I have to clean it especially afterwards if they go back and forth. Because you don't, that's
That's
a
like
huge
number one,
thing.
no.
Because,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of preparation for women's bodies. Taking special supplements, preventing like UTIs and yeast infections and BV. Like we've got all this bullshit in our bodies that are so temperamental.
Yeah, like gut health. How important is gut health to you?
One thing I learned that has like saved my life, I think, was using boric acid
I was
supplements.
hoping you were gonna say
so
boric
glad-
acid.
I'm so glad that you're not, like, you understand.
I love them.
They changed my life. They
They
changed
just
my
like
life.
level out the pH, right?
Yep.
And also like tea tree oil, and like there's a lot more
Yeah.
natural supplements.
Her cat accidentally ate one.
My cat ate a boric acid pill, and we had to
Oh,
call
no.
pet
I was
control
gonna
the other
say,
night.
that's-
This was recent.
Literally, like, I mean, the term acid will scare you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm putting an acid tablet in my body, and yeah, you don't want to eat it.
Yeah, no, don't eat it. Don't swallow it, because they're pink and shiny and they look delicious.
Yeah, like, usually my routine is if I'm doing a scene, usually most of my scenes happen to have anal with them. So my routine afterwards is I will rinse out with some water and tea tree oil or iodine or hydrogen peroxide.
Wow.
Not all three at once.
Yeah, but arguably your pussy's probably way better, like cleaner and taken care of than most.
the average, because
Yeah.
most people don't understand, like, whatever it is you're doing. Some guys won't brush their teeth before sex,
Oh,
and
no.
they'll spit on their dick, and they
Yeah.
put this gross spit inside you, like all this weird things.
You don't think about
not
yeah.
washing your
Yeah,
hands,
damn.
stuff like that.
That's a big one for you. He's giving me death stare right now,
But
Jared.
it's like to have sex naturally, like without preparation, is totally fine. Like
Yeah.
we do it. I'm
Right.
not douching before him and
You
I
guys
have
have
sex,
sex. Sure.
or whatever. But you know, after scenes, to take care of yourself, you clean out, and usually sometimes before bed, I'll pop a pill
Yeah.
up my pussy.
Does that get expensive? Because I feel like, or do you have to set aside a
you
budget
write
of
that
your?
off?
Yeah, can you write it off?
No, actually, it's like, I mean,
I thought
unless
you could,
like,
too.
unless I probably could. Like, all my expenses I spend on my pussy's expensive, I guess.
Goddamn right, bitch.
Moneymaker.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
Hey, my
literally,
moneymaker's down here.
We have to really prep ourselves and take care of ourselves because they are literally our money makers.
Your job.
And yeah, buttholes are a whole different story.
God, no shit.
Yeah,
no pun
yeah.
intended,
No
but like,
shit,
my
yeah.
God, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, but keeping up with like taking supplements and like cranberry pills.
Yes.
So you don't get UTIs
Yes.
or there's a whole lot that goes into taking care of that part.
I
of
wish
your
we
body.
all thought more about our pussies as much as you do.
It's just being hygienic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like making sure that you pee before and after sex.
Yeah.
And
How about for men? Because I know, like,
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that you were able to come twice the first time you had sex.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a normal thing. Like, is there Viagra used? Do you just have different genetics than most people? Like,
There's a lot of Viagra use in
Got
the
it.
business for sure. Because like I said earlier, as a guy, it's not about our pleasure.
Yeah.
You know,
He's gotta be ready
we
to-
are more or less used as a prop to make the woman
Right.
our co-star do the best job possible. So yeah, you're expected to be hard when they tell you.
Jesus.
So,
is that like
so you have to do what it
pressure?
takes. If you can't do it, then you have to have a pill in your utility belt.
Yeah.
But even that isn't a
Yeah,
guarantee.
yeah.
Yeah.
None of them are guarantees.
Now, are fluffers real?
No.
Okay, what the fuck?
well,
Kira's
all
chiming in.
I have to say,
What a great
no,
fantasy.
fluffers aren't real on a set, but back when I used to be production,
Oh my God,
I
that's
would
so
be
fucking
the
hot.
part-time fluffer.
Jesus Christ, that's so fucking hot. I
Like,
love that.
So like, I would be holding like the camera cords and stuff, and then sucking his.
No, God, I love that.
Yeah, because like if they're doing a gangbang, I'm like these guys are like, I'm
Back
trying
and
to
forth,
keep
let
them
me
up,
help out.
and like. Or
It's
even,
pretty good.
even if it's just a boy-girl scene,
Oh my
sometimes
God,
the
that's
guy's
fucking
not
awesome.
into that girl, and I'm kind of like, all right, I'm tested, I'll help you.
Oh, okay.
Like,
yeah.
Because I'll see guys struggle. I don't do this on set now because it's like the girl you're working with should
Right.
be helping you. But
Yeah.
I mean, when I was production, I would be the
That's
part-time
awesome.
fluffer.
Now
One of
you
my-
bring up a. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say on that line, like one of my favorite things, like it was like one of these porns, but it was like this camera guy behind the scenes, and it was like in between things, and he was just like, "Oh, like, can I fuck you?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And like
And he was just like, "Hold my camera."
It was just awesome. It was like this guy, like he's filming something, and then he goes and fucks
Now,
somebody.
how
It's like,
real is that?
That's awesome.
Right, I was just trying to say, who knows if that's real? Or not.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Sorry to
Sad.
crush your
A
dreams.
lot of that
I
could
know.
be written in. As
But like that's
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
awesome, you know.
Sure,
Like,
absolutely.
Why aren't
But
there
that's the
more?
fantasy, you know?
Why aren't there more
Right,
scenes
that's what
where
you're
it's like?
selling.
Because I'd love this. Where it's like somebody's filming the thing, and it's like, "Hey, come here," and then it's like that person is now a POV. Like, have you ever thought about like mashing things up? Because I'm all about the mashups, like
Well-
combining things here. Film, and
The,
oh
the
shit.
real unfortunate thing about it is now that everything's on the tube sites, the tube sites operate under, what like thumbnails, what thumbnails
Yeah.
sell, and what performers have the biggest following, and
Right.
what keywords are most popular. So the the idea of like, oh, let's just fuck and let's make it crazy and fun. Like you can't do that anymore.
Not-
You have to
yeah.
follow a strict
Specific.
order
They're
of,
like,
of
we
events
want
that you're
this
given.
position and we want that.
very
position,
technical.
and
Yeah,
we
so
want-
the artistry is kind of gone for the most
Right.
part. You know, some companies still exist where they're like, no, we just like what I said earlier, like we both said about performing what we would want to watch ourselves. You know, there are directors who shoot what they would want to watch,
Yeah.
but
Right.
for the most part, you're just told what to do.
Right.
Damn.
Now, I don't want to ask about y'all's personal sex life because that is like an intimate, private thing the same way with us. But dating before you guys met, like, I know that's probably a question you get all the time is like, do performers tend to date performers because you just get it? Like, is it just something that's like more understood between, or do you find that because in LA people seem to be a little bit more liberal, like sex is not so taboo here, is it easier to date?
Well, I'll just say it's funny because I told myself when I got in the industry, I said I don't want to date a male performer.
Why?
And exactly. I told myself that thinking like, oh, I wouldn't be able to like deal with like what if they work with someone I don't like, or what if like I don't know. I just had a bunch of like what ifs. It was kind of more seated in insecurity and jealousy.
Wow.
And yeah, we
That's
still
really
deal
big
with
of you
that.
to talk about.
Yeah,
That's
it-
like pretty dope though that you're like that self-aware.
Yeah, I definitely, my whole life I've, dealt with being insecure and jealous in a relationship, and I thought, oh man, I can't do that with a male performer, like that would be even worse. But, getting into the business, I started being in a relationship with another director. So I was like, it's different. It's not a male performer.
Yeah.
And
He's an artiste.
he's an artiste. Barely. No, I was the artist.
Hey, goddamn straight.
Yeah. But obviously I'm not with him anymore.
Yeah.
Thank God. Like that wasn't a good relationship. Like you'll find people in the business that it doesn't matter like if they are a male performer or even like I've never dated a civilian outside.
Civilian. I love that they call us civilians.
I've never dated a normal person.
It's like a Harry Potter, like a muggle. We're just muggles, and you guys are
Yeah,
wizards.
yeah.
You guys just don't get it.
We
you
didn't
know?
go.
You're
We're
on the
not cool
outside.
enough. I wish I was.
Yeah, I've never dated an outsider.
Okay.
But while being in porn. So
Yeah,
I think
okay.
it's just better to be with someone who understands what you're doing and what you're going through.
Sure.
And
you can go home and talk about
and
like,
you can go home and talk about
Yeah,
it. And
yeah.
you
Relatable.
deal with it together, and it just makes it a lot easier.
Aw.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah.
I feel like there'd be a lot of like jealousy or outside kind of things. Like if someone's not in that world and understands how it is, I feel like there would be a
you
lot
might
of
not
people
understand.
being
You
like,
talk about that in your book a little bit.
Yeah, because when I got in, I was dating someone who wasn't in the business,
Yeah.
and it was tough.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it didn't work out because, I mean, like you said, I feel like you have to. If you're not on the inside, at least you have to know what happens and how it works to get it. Otherwise, you might just be wrapped with.
You're killing yourself with And I mean, I keep saying this, but I feel like you guys are so much better off than like civilians are because you have to have communication. Like you have to, you can't think like, oh, I'm too scared to say this thing or talk about this subject or like you guys kind of just have an open door. Like it's part of your work. And we talk about all the time the reason why our open relationship works is because there are no secrets. Like we keep no secrets from each other. Like even if it's like, ooh, I'm feeling this way about this person, like that needs to be communicated. Whereas like we talk about all the time how a lot of reasons why most relationships fail is because there is someone holding
on
something back or like the communication isn't clear all the way. And like I'm sure you guys have, your problems outside of
Sure, I mean that's
sexual
like an
relations,
ongoing
but-
battle. You know,
Yeah.
I have a tendency to just hold on to things.
What's your ethnicity? Or your heritage? What's the difference between ethnicity and heritage?
I don't know. Actually.
A lot of Irish.
Oh, okay. I'm Irish too.
Yeah,
So
a
we
lot of
hold
Irish.
things down until
so
we
I hold
die.
it and I say like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine. And then eventually it just comes out, and I'm trying to work on it, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
an
usually
uphill battle.
trying to pull things out
Emotion
of
out of him.
I
but
feel you.
It could also just be a
I
male
want to be
thing,
better,
yeah.
but whatever. It's just one of those
Toxic
things.
masculinity.
Well, no,
Sure,
not
sure.
whatever.
Well, it's not whatever. No. I just
That's exactly what we're trying to
it's
combat
an
here.
ongoing thing. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome that you got, that the communication is important. We're almost out of time, but I want to get to some of these questions because we wrote it. No, this has been like the most interesting thing. So like, let's just power through these. Think of this as like a power round, speed round.
A lightning round. Here
Yeah,
we go.
lightning round.
round.
Okay. Let's see. Some of these we've already asked. Okay. Does cum taste actually as good as girls pretend it do in porn?
Some guys taste like battery acid, and some guys taste like icing.
Wow.
So,
Really?
Yeah, some guys taste good, some guys don't.
To me, it all tastes and smells the same.
Yes and no. I mean, there's some guys I've worked with that I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? And other guys, it's like, okay, it just tastes like the last guy's cum. It's all the same, but it's also not. You gotta take care of yourself.
Is the pineapple juice trick a thing? Is that a real thing?
Yeah, people do that a lot.
Yeah?
Is it?
I mean, just having a healthy diet works. If
Yeah.
you smoke and you drink a lot, it's not going to work out.
You're not gonna taste
You need to have a lot of fruit. You need to have balance.
Nice.
Yeah.
And stay hydrated.
Also,
Hydration.
feel free
hydration,
to pass on any of these because I'm gonna hit them with you. What's the weirdest thing someone's asked you to put in your butt or for you to put in a butt?
Is that to
Anything
me?
for you?
Either.
Let's see. In my butt, something weird. I mean, I've put a lot of weird things in my butt.
That came from my friend who is a ER nurse. And
Oh,
she
okay.
said that she's had a
She's
lot
a
of
lot
things.
of weird
But
stuff
I
in
feel like
there.
in porn it must not be
Well, as
too
a
obscure.
Whatever
Right.
goes in has to come out.
You
So
have-
you don't want it to get stuck
a
in
performer
there.
should know, like, if I'm gonna put that in, will it get stuck or
Yeah.
will it come out?
It's not dangerous.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so nothing dangerous.
Nothing dangerous.
Okay, good.
I've never lost anything up there, but that's
So you've put, there's been
that
some,
could, it
yeah,
could happen
For
and
sure.
and it has happened to people.
for sure. Have you ever had sex with a fan?
No.
No, me neither.
Is it any specific reason, like just boundaries?
I mean,
to.
I have fans ask all the time, but I'm like,
Doesn't
I have
interest
no
ya.
desire
Yeah.
really. Like a lot of girls do like fuck a fan contests,
Yeah.
Right.
and it's like, you
Yeah.
want to like have sex with someone who's not maybe potentially not gonna know what they're doing, or
No thanks. I
Well, it
spent
probably
28
lasts, like, 30
years
seconds.
avoiding
Yeah,
that.
it
Yeah.
lasts like 10 seconds and be awful. Like no, I don't.
Yeah.
I'd rather have sex with someone who knows how to
A
have
professional.
Sex. A
God damn
professional.
it.
maybe. Professional?
Anything you wouldn't do. Like I feel like in porn, we were talking about this before you guys got here. Like when you're starting out, do you get to say no to things or do you have to be down for anything? Like can you say like, no, I'm not this, or will you be less likely to be hired? Kind of a loaded question. Was supposed to be speed round. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like, obviously, yeah, you should be comfortable saying no to any scenario.
Right.
And a lot of people try to stress that, but of course there are those
Sure.
who will say, like, no, you can't say no, you're here, blah, blah, blah.
Right, right.
But
Right.
That's
That's
another
also in the
story
real world,
entirely,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the whole feeling of like if you do say no, then they're gonna kind of feel like, oh, well, great, like who's gonna do this, or
Yeah.
like, or you're not cool, like you're not gonna do this for us, like.
Is it usually planned out?
Kind of like yes and no. Sometimes you'll get to set not knowing what you're gonna be doing. You just know what you're wearing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you're gonna be doing this virgin scene. And you have to act like you're in pain and stuff. And I'm like,
Wow.
I don't really
Interesting.
want to do that.
Yeah, that's
And
an
that
amazing
makes
You'd
no
think they'd be
sense to
prepared
me.
beforehand. That's crazy.
But then you're kind of like, okay, well, I guess because I wasn't told about this, I know what I don't want to do next
Yeah.
time. There's a lot of things I've done that I'm like, I'd rather not do that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. No, I have to imagine like that. There's that weird pressure of like, if I don't do this, will
Right.
someone hire me?
Yeah, do you have like a rider where you're like, I need this, I don't do this or this and
Yeah,
this?
Yeah,
I
and like
wish.
I need
Yeah.
like
Are you
Sprite
kidding me?
on set.
Yeah.
I usually will go over our do's and don'ts
Yeah.
before a scene, so you can talk to your partner like, oh, I don't like a whole fist jammed up my ass,
Got
or like, but I do like having my head slammed on a toilet. or
Right.
something.
It's
know,
very
like,
specific.
There's very fine
Yeah.
lines with certain things.
Now, do you ever masturbate before a scene, or is that like a big no-no? Or like, jerk off. What did you call it? What's the difference between
Actually,
jacking off and masturbating?
I don't
to
know.
you?
It's just the language I use.
I
with it. That's all.
say I jerk
Like
off.
I imagine
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
different for women, but you also seem to have like endless cum yourself. So like,
Well,
is that like a
edge
no-no?
before a scene sometimes.
Yeah,
just
yeah,
to
Get ready.
Get ready.
yeah, to
for
get
it.
riled up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
grease the engine.
But
Nice.
like you guys don't ever have like a morning quickie the day of like shooting, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
cannot
He does
prepped.
not want to have
Yeah.
sex, even like within
Yeah.
like maybe like a 12-hour period.
Yeah, I was about to
before
ask that. It's like
something.
Refractory.
how quickly you you're booked this day. This just came up, and it's like, fuck, I
Scheduling,
masturbated
yeah.
yesterday. Like, do you have to plan out your masturbation sessions?
Whoa,
Like,
yeah.
No,
do you have
I
like
mean,
a
Or, like,
calendar?
sex?
That's fine, but let's say like 12 hours. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm not gonna do it the morning of, and
It's
I'm
true,
like, all right,
yeah.
now I'm gonna go fuck
Right,
on
Yeah.
camera.
right. So
Like, well,
it's-
that's
I
my
mean, a lot
job.
more
You know, I need to
Yeah,
be.
you
Yeah.
gotta
Yeah,
prep
for me,
yourself.
it's like I don't really care. I'll masturbate all I want.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. How do you ever have to numb the brain? You know how guys always say like, think about your grandma, or like start counting sheep, or like baseball. Like, do you guys have like a trick you go to in your brain when you need to not come? And I guess that's more specified towards
Yeah,
you,
I don't have a
Logan.
specific trick, but I will say that as of late, like, I can come in like the first position. I'm
Damn.
like,
I
I
mean,
don't
I
know
think
what's
that's
happening.
average. I think that's the
Yeah.
norm.
No, I mean, I know this one performer, he has been in the industry for over 20 years, and he's like, as I've gotten further in, he has trouble, like, he comes early, and I'm like,
Damn.
oh,
I guess like being relaxed maybe, or
I
like
don't
being
know.
used to it.
Or stress, the
Yeah.
opposite,
Yeah,
maybe.
who
Yeah.
knows? But I don't know if he'd have a stress ejaculate. Or,
Well, where you just need to pound one out real quick. Like for me, sometimes if I'm having like really bad anxiety, I'm like, I know masturbating will just solve this. So
well,
like,
yeah, of course.
let
Yeah.
me
Any
just go,
bad
like-
idea can be averted by coming.
No, seriously, like my number one advice I'm writing a book about panic disorder, and my number one advice is masturbate. And the publishers are like, you can't put that. And I'm like, but that's my honest advice.
no, that's the
It's
truth.
like, that's what makes me feel better. Anyways, la 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 la. How do you? Oh, this is a personal question. I didn't realize that so many of these were personal. So feel free to pass. Okay, how do you get turned on if getting turned on is your job? Like, are you able to separate work sex from personal sex? And again, I feel weird even asking that because that's like such an invasive question, but.
You go first.
Or you don't have to
If
answer.
you're
like,
ready.
Well,
is there a way to answer that
what's
without?
the question? The question is, how do we separate?
Yeah, like how are you able to separate it?
Being
Can
turned
you
on.
being turned on? Like, if that's what you do for a living, is it different than when you're just by yourself or at home or? And that's a personal question, so you don't have to answer
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I don't know if it's different. Like, I know one of our first conversations about sex is that, what I do on camera, I also like to do privately.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah, there isn't.
It's like, is it just boring missionary or is it like literally you're practicing? It's like.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you want me to get specific with things, but like,
ahead and get
I don't really get the freedom on set to do more of like most of the time, like the deviant things that I want to do. So in private, like, I don't know, like she said, like, head against the toilet or something. Like,
damn, it gets
maybe we'll do
kinky.
some of that.
Yeah.
Or like
Love
step
that.
on her head or
Like,
something
yeah.
like that.
Like,
You know?
him
Yeah.
when he pisses on me. So
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, I
Hell
really get
yeah.
to do that in
all
scenes.
the dirty, gross stuff
Fuck
you
don't
yeah.
get to
can't
do.
do on set, we like to be able to do
That's
together.
that's like the best thing I possibly could have heard because I was just like imagining it being like,
Oh, babe,
God,
it's like
long
asking
day.
a chef to cook when he gets
Yeah,
home. He doesn't
yeah.
want to cook. He just wants
No, they're
to make
fucking like,
macaroni and like go to bed.
hot. That's
We love
awesome.
to cook.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what other things don't
What are your
people?
hobbies?
Yeah, like, what else are you good at besides fucking?
But she's a world-class chef.
Hey, he is.
Really?
Yeah, look at this. Hell
Do
yeah.
you guys do any of those like meal prep things? We're really into Green Chef right now.
We tried. Didn't
Well-
we try one?
No, not like those. Well, we get like this ugly produce delivered.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
So that ties into
Imperfect
that.
produce.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good plug
But
for
it's
them.
ugly. We
It's
didn't
ugly
get anything
produce.
ugly
We
yet,
haven't
though.
gotten
But
anything
it's
ugly.
perfect. It's perfectly good fruits and vegetables that
Cool.
get thrown away by markets.
Oh, no,
You
it's
should check
great,
it
yeah.
into it if
Yeah.
you guys
Every
are into
Monday,
the
box at your
environment.
door.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
We like to go for hikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to golf
Very
a lot.
LA shit.
He
Ooh,
likes
golf.
to golf.
Fuck yeah, man.
He's a golfer.
Hey man, you let me know.
Yeah.
Sure.
I got a
He's
text.
good,
I got a
though.
text group, but I'm not that good.
You're pretty
We got a text
good.
Yeah,
group
I'm
about
pretty
people.
shit, too.
Yeah, right. I'm like happy if I get like mid-90s. It's super dope.
Isn't that good?
It's me like it's almost it's basically good enough to like play like business golf and not be super
not be,
embarrassed
like,
about
super
it.
Not always
embarrassed.
chasing the
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean sometimes, but we'll get on a little text group.
Yeah.
We'll get it going. Love that.
You guys, I have so many more questions, but I know we're out of time, and I hope you guys will come back
Aw.
because this has been
Part
so
two.
cool.
Yeah.
And like, I have to be honest, I was kind of nervous to do this, even though I've been like a sex positive advocate for like since I've been on camera. But I was so nervous because I think there's like, I was so scared of offending you guys because I know that this is like.
There's not much, at least.
Yeah,
that
but
can
like,
offend me.
but
Yeah.
people think they get to ask you things and talk about things just because it's something you do for a living. And like sometimes I know for me, like I don't want to talk about like mental health all the time. Like when I go home, I don't want to be like answering DMs about it. So I just want to say thanks for being so cool and so open
thank
to
you.
like talk about everything. And this has just been rad. And please, if you can, go read Between the Sheets by. Can I read your pen name?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's on the
J.R.
cover of the book.
Verlin, aka Logan Pierce.
All right.
And KEIRA CROFT, thank you so
Thank
much for
you so
coming.
much
Where
Oh,
can
thank you.
people find you? Plug all your things, please, because I know we're going to have some homework tonight.
Me, my Twitter is at KEIRA CROFT. That's spelled KEIRA CROFT. It's like Keira Knightley and Lara Croft.
Nice.
Hell
There you
yeah.
go.
And same for my Instagram. I've got an OnlyFans. I got my links on Twitter, so just go check my Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, check them out. Twitter at whoislogan. Instagram who_is_Logan because someone already told who is
Damn,
Logan.
motherfuckers.
And the website whoislogan.com.
Fuck yeah.
Easy.
Who's Logan?
Go
You
find
gotta
out.
read to find out.
Yeah, you got it. Honestly,
Nice.
guys, I'm not just saying
His
that.
books are
I'm
selling
flying
like
through it.
hotcakes.
Ooh,
yeah. Love
go
that.
get it while it's